This is definitely not how we wanted this longest ride to end.
Mount Rinjani.
We still have the final climbs ahead of us, but the daylight is gone.
This is insane. Look at the climb. Where can you get this kind of views, man?
Welcome to Lombok. Very nice
Thank
to
you.
meet you.
Keep watching because I will share routes, expenses, food, places worth visiting, and everything you should know before planning your own cycling trip to Lombok, which is one of the Indonesia's 17,000 plus islands. This island has great local food, beautiful roads, and amazing scenery for cycling. On day one, we flew from Singapore to Lombok with Scoot, Singapore's budget airline. The return tickets for two people cost about $1,400. Since our fare only included 10 kg of cabin baggage, we also bought 30 kg of checked baggage for our bike boxes, which cost about $132 for both of us each way. If you wish to know more about how did we pack and transport our bikes, you may check out my other video available on the channel. We dropped by a grocery store to buy some drinks before we check into our Airbnb.
Was Indonesian remedy on anything and everything.
We were received by our Airbnb host who showed us around. It cost us around $60 per night. We managed to set up our bikes and head out for lunch. The food is relatively cheap and even in good restaurants can cost around $5 to $20 per person. Anyways, this is very interesting to see this old school method of inviting the waiter to take the order. We ended our day one with a relaxed, mostly flat ride to check the bikes, test the drone, and make sure everything was ready for the big ride in the next morning. Day 2 was the big one. The plan was to ride around Mount Rinjani, almost covering around 200 kilometers with close to 2,800 meters of climbing. We knew it is going to be a long day, so we started early at 5 a.m. Anything before that would be a safety concern as there were no street lights available in many places.
Yes, going school. So as the kids go school, the daddies go Mount Rinjani.
One thing you quickly notice while cycling in Lombok is the kids cheering as you ride past. In the morning, you also see children heading to school and people jogging along the roadside. At this point, our legs were still fresh, the climbs hadn't started yet, and we were simply enjoying the surroundings and taking everything in.
So there's this kind of like smoke, which I believe is originated mainly from burning the bushes or burning something over there, but the smell is a smoky smell. We are passing through central Mataram right now, going towards the north.
As we are approaching Suela, which is the starting point for the main climb to start towards Pusuk Sembalun, there is this small stretch of roller coaster ride that you will face.
We are joined by one mountain biker. Sorry, what's your name?
Hafiz.
Hafiz. Mashallah, Hafiz has joined us and he's going to Suela.
Yeah.
We will then be proceeding with our ride all the way to
Kebun Raya Lemor.
Kebun Raya.
Lemor.
What is that?
Ya, sana.
Oh, it's that side. Okay. It's a bit hard to communicate. As much as I can understand Malay and as much as you can understand English, I think we are doing well. Hami cyclist language lah. Okay, just before the climb starts, we have just stopped for our first break, noodle break. This is the specialty of Lombok.
You record?
Yeah,
Oh.
there you go.
Lombok the original tabak.
Lombok's original cigarette, whereby it is being locally produced. Okay, these are the petrol, and it's been sold for 90,000.
90.
90,000 because it is
19.
19,000.
The sun was starting to get stronger, so we stopped to put on some sunscreen. From here, the real climbing began. For the next 10 to 15 kilometers, gradients above 20% were not unusual. In fact, if your Garmin was showing anything below 5%, you might want to check whether you are still going in the right direction.
This is a very common sight in Lombok while you are riding towards Sembalun. There are open fields everywhere alongside the roads.
Getting out of breath is pretty normal on this stretch towards Pusuk Sembalun. I was struggling here and just wanted to get over the climb so I could finally catch my breath. And these are the kind of brutal climbs that make you ask yourself, are you cycling for fun or you are just torturing yourself over here?
A short pit stop to catch some breath after hitting a 20% climb. This is insane. Look at the climb.
If you're planning to ride up to Pusuk Sembalun, I would suggest to raise your FTP at least to above 3 watts per kilogram. You can still do it with less, but on the steeper section you may find yourself walking the bike more often than riding it. As we got closer to the viewpoint at Pusuk Sembalun, the final kilometer took almost everything out of me. Most of it was above 20% gradient, and it was so steep that even shifting my weight slightly backwards would make the front wheel start lifting off the road. Was happy that we successfully completed it safely, and it was all worth it for the views that we see over there. After all that climbing, it was finally time to enjoy the descent. But it also meant a lot of braking, which gave our wrist a pretty good workout. If you're planning this route, please ensure your brake pads are still left with plenty of life in them. We continued downhill for a while before stopping for lunch at Mahakala restaurant. The food was generally nice, but having that food in front of those views were another level. As we continue with our downhill journey after lunch, we had views on one side of Mount Rinjani. The road we are taking is a coastal road and is one of the best throughout our ride.
Right over there is the Mount Rinjani. People normally take 2 days to hike up over there.
After our stop at Kadai Coffee, it was slowly getting dark, but the sunset views were incredible and gave us much needed boost of energy for the ride ahead. By 180 kilometers, darkness had set in, so we decided to stop before Malimbu Hills. It wasn't the finish we had planned, but it has still been an amazing ride around Rinjani before the next morning as we joined a local group ride to experience Lombok cycling culture. Day 3 began at the gathering point beside Lombok Epicentrum Mall, where we joined a ride organized by Gili Gear cycling team to get a taste of Lombok cycling culture. The ride took us south through Lombok countryside, passing through local villages, beautiful landscapes, before looping back towards Mataram.
Abid. Yeah.
Amir, yeah.
Amir.
Yeah. Dari Singapura?
Yeah, Singapore.
We started with a small group from Epicentrum Mall, with more local riders joining along the way. Soon we were a group of more than 20 riders leaving the city behind and heading into the quieter roads and countryside of Lombok. After around 40 kilometers, we stopped for a few group photos before heading for breakfast. But in the final 10 kilometers, Lombok's Pogacha and a Nago apparently forgot that this was a chill ride. And just like that, every promise of an easy morning disappeared.
You can back here. This is friend from Tasmania.
1987 you started cycling. And now you are 61 years old.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's Giligir, not Gili Trawangan.
Giligir.
But in the evening, in the afternoon, it's more like wind.
Wind is stronger.
Strong. You should keep your body to still aero.
And just like that, our group ride with amazing people from Gili Gears have come to an end. Day 4 was our final day in Lombok, and before flying back to Singapore, we had one last ride planned, and that was straight down to Kuta. On the way, we stopped at Mandalika Circuit, hoping to get a closer look. Unfortunately, we weren't allowed inside because they were preparing the circuit for an event the following day, so no laps for us this time. From there, we continued towards Kuta, where the roads open up to some of the best coastal views of the trip. We spent a little time at Kuta Beach before making our final stop at Merese Hills. And honestly, there probably wasn't a better place to finish this trip. 4 days, hundreds of kilometers, brutal climbs, local group rides, incredible food, and some of the best scenery we have ever ridden through. Lombok is definitely a place I would come back to ride again. If you have cycled before in Lombok, or there's any other place in Indonesia you think we should ride next, let me know in the comments. And if you enjoy cycling trips like this, you may wish to subscribe, as there are plenty more rides coming.